In the heat and tension of our modern world, fashion houses are striving to respond. Max Mara, under the creative direction of Ian Griffiths, chose for Spring-Summer 2026 to embrace both lightness and strength, marrying power, dressing with airy translucence. This was not a collection merely of clothes. It was an exploration of identity, climate, resilience, and elegance. The runway in Milan, autumn of 2025, served as more than a stage. It was a statement. Rising global temperatures, political unease, and an appetite for escapism shaped a collection that balanced sensuality with structure. From the first look to the last curtain, Max Mara SS26 revealed itself as a study in contrast, exposed midriffs against classic tailoring. Airy, soft organza veils draped over powerful silhouettes, delicate fluttery ruffles alongside strong lines, fetishistic references distilled into understated elegance. AP News put one Ian Griffiths returned to the brand's hallmarks, camel tones, deep blacks, silhouettes rooted in sharp tailoring, but pushed them into territory less rigid. The power suit, a Max Mara staple, resurfaced with provocations, stretched jersey pencil skirts, trousers paired with cropped knitwear that revealed the belt at the waist, bare skins veiled yet provocative. The collection said, "You can be strong and soft. You can show skin and be sovereign." AP News Plus One. Materials mattered. Filmy organza, technical mesh, leaf-shaped cutouts, all whispered in contrast to heavier wools and structured coats. The whole show was suffused by movement. Sleeves that caught air, skirts that floated, ruffles that twirled, not for decoration only but to signify freedom. Breath took fabric, and fabric took breath in return. Study News 1-1. Color and pattern were sparse but precise. The signature camel and black were the backbone. The quiet insistence of classic Max Mara restraint. Only one printed piece emerged, a rococo-inspired shell and coral motif, fading as though seen through water, an echo of history, fantasy, escapism. It was a poetic punctuation amid tonal solidity. AP News silhouette and proportion walked hand in hand. Power was exerted via shoulders and hips, dramatic ruffles amplifying curves, wide proportions softened by floaty fabrics. At the same time, pencil-skirted slits, tight jersey cuts, elongations, and crop tops declared confidence and exposed vulnerability in equal measure. Palazzo pants appeared as counterpoint, ease, comfort, yet still artful, still precise. AP News runway presentation itself was part of the story. Models walked in confident strides under lights that echoed heat waves. Each look transition felt like an evolution. As the show progressed, the energy built, from contained structure to freer movement. Blank spaces between looks opened into fluttering hems, breathing fabric, revealing skin in controlled ways. The editing, the pacing, each beat counted. It was cinematic in its tension. Behind these, forms stood craftsmanship. To build organza that holds shape, to cut mesh that frames yet reveals, to create stretch knits that both sculpt and breathe, all required mastery. Behind the scenes, pattern makers measured, draped, redraped. Cutters tested fabrics under lights. Seamstresses stitched ruffles whose curves had to fall just right. Tailors reinforced shoulders whose shape had to promise power without clumsy bulk. Ian Griffiths' interviews around the show reflect intention. The desire to respond to rising global tensions and temperatures by lightness, to reconcile formality with comfort, sensuality with decorum. He spoke of capriciousness and playfulness with power, an oscillation between joy and restraint. The collection is both a response and a refuge. AP News critics noted the influence of fetishistic elements, not as overt provocation, but as style reference. Belts cinched tight, exposed midriffs, cutouts at leaf shapes whispering skin. These details are not shock. They are hints, suggestions of boundary without crossing into exhibition. They provoke thought about exposure, about control, about what is hidden and what is shown. AP News symbolism runs deep. Exposure as vulnerability and power at once, softness that does not surrender, structure that accommodates movement. The power suit becomes more than corporate uniform. It becomes armor, but one that breathes. The organza becomes veil and banner. Ruffles become wings. The printed shell motif becomes memory. C. Rococo fantasy, a counterpoint to institutional seriousness. Audience reaction was intense. Editors, buyers, and front-row guests saw something familiar. Power, identity, legacy, but also something new. Max Mara pushing boundaries without abandoning its signature. It resonated as wearable courage, as something people might live in, walk in, but also feel seen by. The timing of SS26 feels essential. At a moment when many feel the world is both louder and more fragile, Max Mara offered an aesthetic shelter, beauty with backbone. It is clothes to be worn in weather and mood. It is elegance that bears scars lightly. As the finale unfolded, structured coats returned, lines sharpened, silhouettes resolved. The closing looks reaffirmed the house identity. Coats, high tailoring, classic shapes, but now infused with the breath of what came before: transparency, midriff, ruffle, play. A reminder that even tradition must change, that even strength can soften. This show, this collection, stands as a signpost. For Max Mara, for Ian Griffiths, for fashion watchers, the future lies in collaboration between the formal and the fluid. The architectures of tailoring will be more agile. The statement pieces will be those that balance exposure and restraint. Spring-Summer 2026 at Max Mara is more than a seasonal delivery. It is a manifesto. Lightness as response to burden, strength as weapon of beauty, playfulness as survival, elegance as armor. In every seam, every ruffle, every contrast, the collection asks, what does power feel like when softened by breath? What does exposure mean when framed by dignity? What does lightness mean when carried by strength? Max Mara, SS26 has its answer. That you can stand firm and drift free, that you can be seen and yet preserved, that beauty and resilience need not be separate.